Welcome to Sammy Joe's podcast, the show that is all about gaining insights from top performers as they share what made their team successful and translate those ideas into your everyday lives and businesses. Here's your host, three-time Olympian, professional speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Sammy Joe Small.
Welcome to episode 12 of Sammy Joe's podcast, where I interview three-time Olympic gold medalist and Hockey Hall of Famer, goalie Kim St-Pierre. From Châteauguay, Quebec, Kim went to McGill University, where she rewrote the record books, earning top athlete honors as a U Sports National Athlete of the Year. She joined the national team in 1999 and went on to win 5 IIHF World Championships, earning top goaltender honors in 2001. She played for the Montreal team in what was the NWHL, eventually becoming the CWHL, earning both a national championship and 2 Clarkson Cups. For her incredible skills on the ice, this past year she became the first female goaltender inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. I hope you enjoy my interview with Kim St-Pierre. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional Indigenous owners of country throughout Canada and pay my respect to them, their culture, and their elders, past, present, and future. So, Kim, I had the pleasure of being your teammate for more than a decade, and you had such incredible success for Canada between the pipes. But more than that, you're such a great teammate and really a great person. So it's really a pleasure now to be able to rightfully call you Hall of Famer, Kim St-Pierre. Thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Sammy. It was a pleasure to share all those years with the national team with you.
Well, we certainly had a lot of memories together, didn't we? So let's start. I guess I'm curious about your life now. You're raising 2 boys, along with your husband, Lenny. And what's it like? I only have a girl, so I'm kind of curious what's it like to raise 2 boys?
Well, they love hockey for sure. My boys are 7 and 9 years old already. Aiden is the youngest.
That's
and Liam is the oldest.
Yeah.
It goes by fast, but for sure I enjoyed so much my career with the national team. But as you probably went through it as well, the transition made it so much easier to have kids because we kind of want to play hockey for our whole life. And for me, I didn't know what to expect, but now that they're involved in sports, it's so amazing to see them meet new friends and win and lose game. And it's a process. And it reminds me of probably what my parents had to go through with me all these years in training camps. And so I'm so lucky that my kids like physical activity and sports. So they're not goalies yet. I know they're getting older, but sometimes they ask me for some tips and tricks, but no, they prefer to score some goals. And but I'm always there to support them. And it's we don't sit a lot and watch TV. They pretty much like soccer as well and baseball for the summer, and then they get to play hockey and ski in the winter. So yeah, we're having a lot of fun.
So they kind of learned after your husband how to score goals, I guess, right?
Exactly. I don't have to worry about this, but no, it's fun. I'm giving them the perspective of a goalie, like where to shoot and when and why. And, so
all the tips, all the tricks of the trade, right? That we give away now later in life.
Exactly.
Are there, values that you try to instill in your boys, from your career, from being a woman in sport and being a woman in industry? How do you share and impart that into your boys?
Well, it's so great because last year on Liam's team, there was 9 boys and the goalie was a little girl. So it was so great to see how the boys were interacting with the little girl, and they were all 8 or 9 years old. And it was so nice to see that there was no difference. Our goalie was just there every day, part of one of the boys, and Liam and Aiden are always asking me why we don't have a professional league. Like for them, why don't we see women play hockey on TV? Like they don't see a difference as a lot of people, but now it's getting better. But I like how they see the hockey world as we're hockey players. Not, they're just girls and they don't play in the NHL, they don't get paid. So I think it's going to help the progress of the women's game, because if these kids 7 to 9 years old don't make as much of a big deal like when we were younger, we had to go through so many bad words, and same for our parents. But now the little girls, they can play hockey without being scared of what the other people are thinking. So I'm excited to see this, and it's because of, all the hockey that we can see on TV. We want to see more, so that the little girls want to play at a pro level, but for the little boys to see how girls and women can play hockey.
And how hard they work. I'm even noticing it at the NHL level, that the younger NHL guys either went to school with girls that had girls play on their team, saw female athletes at their gym working really hard. It wasn't even a question. It was, so any of the misogyny or any of the chauvinism that we had to deal with, hopefully, like you said, a lot of that will go away. I have a friend of mine who, we used to visit in Montreal all the time, and her little boys only ever saw me play hockey. So whenever we came to play Montreal, they would come and visit, and they went to their first Canadian, Montreal Canadiens game, and they saw Jocelyn Thibault play, and his name was Jocelyn. So they assumed that he was a girl, and they thought that every single team just had one girl, and they were the goalie. So I thought that was a really cute story that, well, why is that a boy? That's the goalie. That has to be the girl.
Yeah, like we still see it on a few teams, but now I think there's so many opportunities for little girls to play on an all-girls team, and there's still some girls that prefer to play on boys team, and I respect that because that's the way I went, and I think everyone has a different situation, a different personality, so that's what I usually tell the parents, that it depends on your child. Like, do they like the challenge? Are they too shy? Are they enjoying it? That's what I tell my kids too. Now there's hockey 12 months a year. There's like training camps. There's private lessons, skills lessons. So I'm like, as long as your boy, your girl is happy and they're excited to go for it. But for me, I still like the multi-sport approach where summer sports, winter sport, and if they're a good athlete, they'll make it if they need to make it, but that's not the end goal.
Right.
And it wasn't this for me. It just happened. And, we all have such a different stories that led up to become one of the best in Canada. But there's so much that can happen, but as long as they enjoy and then they make amazing friends and meet coaches as well, that's going to guide them and make them grow. I think that's the goal of kids being involved in sports.
Well, I love what you said first, I love that you, encourage both boys and girls hockey, because that is important. And, I always say to parents to ask your daughter, because she knows, like, is she having fun? And does she want to be around girls? Does she want to be around boys? I know for me, I loved my experience with my teammates, and I'm sure like you, I had a really great experience, but not everybody does. And I'm really aware of that. And I know for my daughter, she definitely loves being around mostly little girls. And so I could see her, we got her into hockey this year, but it was a little bit different because you can't go in the dressing room. You can't do any of that. But I can see her loving like the extra stuff, like going to a tournament and being with your teammates and having the matching scarves and doing the cheers. I could see her just loving that. So it just depends, like you said. And I love that multi-sport approach as well. That's definitely what I did. And I think it keeps you balanced too. So then you're never really too up or too down. And why do we play sports at the end of the day? It's not to go to the Olympics. It is to develop the person, right? And that's what it can do.
Oh, exactly. And just different opportunities. Like Leanne was a soccer player and I decided let's try baseball. I was like, oh, you're crazy. You're doing 2 summer sports. I was like, yeah, but there's 8, 9 years old. Like, it's okay to practice once in a while. And he fell in love with the sport of baseball, and he learned how to catch and how to throw and how to hit the baseball. And that's part of growing up as a child, just to get all these skills. And at some point, he'll decide if he wants to be a baseball player or soccer. So I know when you become an elite player, you have to make some hard choices, like probably you did and I did too. So, but now when they're so young, when they're still at the elementary school level, like, I think they should touch every sport that they can and then see what like sparkles something inside of them, so that they're willing to put hours and hours and they're having fun. And so we'll see what they do.
And yeah, I love that, just exposing them to a bunch of different things and letting them find their passion. My parents were not hockey people, and they allowed me to find my joy, to find things that I loved doing. And I'm sure that it wasn't always easy for them. But now I see that passion that my daughter has when she dances and when she does ballet and when she does gymnastics. And it wouldn't necessarily be what I would choose for her, but to see the joy on your kids' faces, there's nothing like that, right? And were your parents always encouraging of you playing hockey, or were they resistant initially? And how many different things did they expose you to before you really sort of focused on hockey?
Well, I started as a figure skater when I was 5 because if I wanted to be on the ice, it was the figure skating was the only option. But my dad was a hockey player. He was drafted by the New York Rangers, never made it to the NHL, but he grew up playing against and with Marcel Dion and Yvon Lambert. So
was he a goalie or was he a forward?
Defense.
Oh, wow. Goalie's best friend. I like it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he understood the hockey world, and I have 2 brothers, and they would always play hockey. So if I wanted to be with them, I needed to be the goalie. And my older brother started playing hockey, and we had a nice ice surface in our backyard. So a lot of kids were coming to play hockey. So at some point, I kind of discovered the sport when we were not supposed to play hockey. Like figure skating was going well. I was doing all these shows. But then I just fell in love with hockey. But I was the only girl until I was 18 years old on my in my minor hockey association in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu and in Chateauguay. But I had such a great support. Maybe because being a goalie, we're a bit different. So being a girl, you're already so different. But like I said, I was playing hockey only in the winters, and I was a soccer player and a softball player as well. But I was introduced to tennis, to swimming, to so many other sports. And at some point, he goes, okay, I have to cut a few sports. And I ended up like being a softball player for Team Quebec and then a hockey player in the winter. And that's why at some point, with the opportunity with the national team, I decided to become a hockey player. But I was just so happy whenever I had a practice or a game. And and my summer sports, it's funny, I was playing on an all-girls team because that was the option where I grew up. Hockey was not an option. I was just with the boys, but soccer and fastball, I was just with an all-girls team. So maybe I got to grow as a person.
You had both experiences.
Yeah, how I needed to kind of be stronger with the boys being so different, but then with the girls, it was just so easygoing and I was not as shy. So I kind of had 2 personality almost. And when I transitioned to women's hockey, it was just so weird to me, like just a different in the locker rooms, different in tournaments, and everything was very different. But the transition to McGill University made it easy for me. Well, it was hard the first few months, but then it was the best decision of my life. So at some point, you have to move to the women's game, and for me, it was that late, but it was the greatest decision.
Yeah, my first women's team was actually the Olympic team in 1998. So I had never seen other women play, and I don't know if you had this feeling, but because I was around guys so much and most of them thought that girls couldn't play hockey, that was the feeling that I had. And so when I stepped on the ice with these women for the first time, I was amazed that there were so many other women that played hockey. I just never seen that. And that they were so good, but it was so different as a goalie to still let in just as many goals. I mean, still they beat me so much and yet they weren't shooting as hard. So I would get mad at myself and it was just hard to sort of come to terms with the fact that it was different. But also like being able to shower after the game for the first time, like being able to stay until the coach finished talking. And I was always in the boys' dressing room, but I always had to be so quick changing. And I think later in my career, I became really slow because I finally could like talk to people and like be in the dressing room. So I love that. And your dad played high level of hockey, but I know your mom also, even later in life, was a triathlete. So she grew up doing a ton of sports. And so what was her influence on your career? Was she initially reluctant, or she just felt like if this is what you want to do, this is what you can do?
No, I had great support from the beginning, from what I remember. I think they did not want me to become a goalie because of everything that it involved. And I was a really good skater because I had done like 3 years of figure skating. And a few years ago, the goalie was the player that couldn't really skate. They were like, just stand in there, we'll put the equipment on you and figure it out. But for me, one day, they were looking for a goalie. I was probably 8 years old, and The equipment was all brown, nothing very attractive, but I don't know. I just said, I want to try. And my mom was like, oh, no. It's like just one practice. So I had my practice, then it went well. So I said, just one game and I'll be done. And then I lost my first game, like 8-0. So my parents were probably high-fiving each other and say, okay, she's going to be done with this.
Right.
But then they saw how like sad I was, and I didn't even go sleep at my house. I went to I think my grandma's house because I was so mad at my parents. But I think they saw I had this little passion for the equipment. I was always playing with my brother as a goalie as well. So they kind of told me, you have to play another game. And then starting from there, everything went so well, and I was having some success, and then I never left the position. So I think they had to let me become a goalie. But no, my mom was always there to support. She was excited to see me, I think, becoming a goalie. And even if it was really hard with the playing boys hockey, she heard a lot of things for tryouts, and when we get picked over a boy, it's a lot of things during games. But I told her, like, I didn't feel bad. I think I grew up becoming like a stronger person because of that. And I understood at some point that it was not personal to me. It was just mostly frustration. And probably you did the same when the little boys lose against you and you have to see them at school the next day. Then they're shy. They don't want to tell their friends that they lost against a girl. So at some point I kind of went the other way, like, it's not negative. Like, take it as a challenge, take it as a motivation. And I think that's when I started becoming stronger. And my parents probably saw that I was okay with all of this. I think if I wanted to be a hockey player, that's the way we had to go. And it was a real passion watching the Habs on TV and talking with my dad. My dad had a hockey school for 20 summers, so I was always involved there. So it was just a part of our life. And my mom, she's still my idol, my role model for being so active. She like 2 years ago did her 6th Ironman in Tremblant. And
wow, incredible.
She's really in a good shape. She swims. She likes swimming, biking, and running. And because of COVID, we had to be separated like everyone else, and we started doing these online workouts. I don't know if you remember Emmanuelle Blais. She was a program.
Yeah, always one of the fittest players. Yes,
and she's a great CrossFit trainer, and so every week she's sending me workouts that I was Zooming or FaceTiming my mom. So
that's special.
150 workouts that we've done together over the
wow.
year. So she motivates me, I motivate her, and she's been always there for me. Good, we see good times, bad times, and I think because of my dad and my mom, that's what gave me the passion to be active, and now I have the privilege to do this with my two boys.
Well, and certainly the strength to be on the world stage. I'm sure that, living with them, that they imparted that on you. And I think probably the worst position in all of hockey is the goaltender's parents. It is so hard on parents. And, I see, cause I run a hockey school or goalie school, and every parent just, shakes their head at the fact that they have to live with everybody else blaming them for their child's goals or whatever it is. But I'm sure they dealt with a lot. My mom ended up usually going to get a coffee when the game was really close, like going into the canteen. And then my dad was just kind of the guy always telling jokes, like always having a good time and trying, paying attention to the game, but trying to not get too wrapped up in it. So I was very fortunate to not have that pressure from them, but I knew that it was really hard because everybody looked at them all the time. So you talked a little bit about McGill and what that decision meant for you. I'm curious if when you decided to go to McGill, there was other options, and then what did the impact of actually going to McGill have on you as a person, first and foremost, and then on you as a hockey player?
Well, I didn't really have a choice to go to McGill. It's not my hockey career was over. When I was about 14, 15, I got invited for the first time to go for Team Quebec, the girls team, the women's team. So I didn't know, like you, that other girls were playing hockey. I got so excited, but for 4 years in a row, I was never good enough, or I was not able to transition quickly for like a weekend of tryouts. So I got released 4 years in a row from Team Quebec. So once you don't make Team Quebec, I didn't make the junior major league in Quebec, no midget AAA. So basically I was done. I didn't have any other options in front of me, and going to the NCAA was not really an option. I remember visiting Vermont. They had asked me to go for a visit, but it was overwhelming. I didn't know if that's the way I wanted to play hockey. Playing with girls was not really going
and
well.
And it was pretty new for us back then too, right? Like it would have been just starting to be an NCAA sport. I know that I'm 2 years older than you, and it wasn't even an option for me. I mean, there was no NCAA women's hockey. It probably was brand new, and I'm sure what you saw was very different than what girls would see nowadays.
Yes, exactly. And playing junior with the boys and just in my small town, and then you go to a huge campus and like having to move away and not speaking English. I'm like, too scared. But then one of my last game, there was someone from McGill University, Dan Madden, coming to ask me if I wanted to play hockey. So I was like, wow, it was a life-changing decision, because I was like, okay, I might be done playing hockey, or I go to McGill and I get to play 4 or 5 more years of hockey. So I got all excited, and my dad was there to translate everything. And at some point he said, you're going to play for the women's team. And then I was like, I don't want to play women's hockey. It never works out, and it's not scary, but it's not an option.
No, I felt the same way. I actually pursued Yale and a bunch of different schools, talking to the men's coaches. And of course they didn't want a woman on their team, but I didn't want to make the transition because I didn't know what that was. You know, in my mind, I thought a certain way because of what the boys thought. And probably like you, I just didn't know what was on that other side.
No, that's why when you don't know what it is, it's kind of scary. But I learned that taking risks, sometimes it's the only option. And for me, I didn't speak English. None of my friends from CEGEP were going to McGill. I had to move away. I had to play women's hockey. But the only thing was, once again, my passion for the sport of hockey, saying you're going to get to play 4 or 5 more years of hockey. So I decided to go. I met 2 French teammates when I visited the campus, and going to see the McGill campus is so amazing. It's so prestigious. Everyone talks about McGill. And then meeting 2 French Québécois from the team made it very special. I was so impressed that he could speak French and speak English. The rink is very old. It was not very attractive, but it made it so special. And I decided to go for it. And like I said, it's a decision that changed my life. I met some amazing teammates. They're still my best friends today. That's where I met Lenny, my husband. He was playing for the men's team. So at some point we had the same classes together, and we got to become friends, and now our 2 kids together and learning English. And just a few months after going to McGill, that's when I got my call to go for a tryout for the national team. So that was unexpected, not being able to make Team Quebec, but someone believed in me, and the camp was in Montreal at Maurice Richard Arena. I don't know if you remember.
Yes, yeah. Where the stands were up high, yeah.
Yes. And Caroline Ouellette, she was my teammate from the Softball Quebec as well. So at least she was there we were there together for our first camp. And I remember first time going around the ice, she was like, wow, this is Danielle Goyette and this is France Saint-Louis. And I was like, who are those girls? I was like, I've never heard of them because, they were not on TV very often. So it was just impressive to be able to step on the ice with all of you. And I don't know, I felt good right away. Maybe the caliber was so much better than what I had seen before. And then I made the team that my first year going to McGill and the national team. But that whole year was a big transition for me, moving closer to downtown to go to McGill and going to school in English, transitioning to the women's hockey world. So it was a huge year, and everything went so well because of the support that McGill was able to give me. And especially, like I said, my teammates. I made friends with the other goalie. Her name is Amy Doyle. She did not speak French. I did not speak English. I was like, well, that's going to be fun. But she learned French. I learned English. We moved in the same apartment with other hockey players. So she's my best friend. And Sarah Lomas from Toronto. And there were so many that were there to support me. And they always laugh at the fact that my first few practices, I didn't know anyone. And it was a big transition from the men's game. they say that I would just come to practice, don't say a word, stop all the pucks, get undressed and leave. She's like, who is this girl? Like, and then I learned a few words in English, and being in a university sport is very special. You go to school with your teammates and practice every day. So quickly I got into this new rhythm, and I had so much fun outside of the ice as well, which is so important. And I try to be successful in the classrooms as well, and finally graduated at some point. But it was the best decision of my life, hockey-wise, and for my life too.
I know you had an incredible relationship with Amy, and she was at so many of the championships, and just really a special person. Tell me about your relationship, because, obviously here she is not getting to play many games. You're getting to play a lot of games. What made her such a special teammate to be able to support you in that way? And what were you able to learn from her?
Oh yeah, she's just so amazing. Even today, always so generous of her time, and whenever I have a question, she's always there to help. So she was amazing, especially the fact that she was already at McGill when I decided to go. So she should have become the number one goalie, but here I am. And not once I felt jealousy, or I felt that she was mad
that would have been a tough situation for her, for sure.
Yeah. Exactly. So right away, our relationship was really good. That she was learning a lot from what I was doing. But for me, I was also just starting with the national team program, so everything was new. And McGill was not a very good hockey program. We were just trying to build it and to make it a good hockey program. And I was not. We were able to share some duties too. Like, I was not playing all the games at McGill.
Okay.
We were able to share some games. Like, for sure, she was playing the weaker team sometimes, but I was gone also with the national team, so she got to play into the big games as well. And the centralization year for 2001, 2002, she became the number one goalie because I was away. So she knew her time to shine was coming, and but she was always a great leader on the team, always working hard, and we were roommates as well, so we had so much fun. She was in phys ed as well, so she helped me a lot. My homework and essays, and
what are friends for, right?
She kept me on track, and even Peter Smith, the coach at McGill, always made sure that we were really good students as well. But yeah, she gave me a lot personally, and also as a hockey player. She always says that, I was Kim's greatest backup goalie. I was like, no.
I know. I think I've fought her on that several times, but
I said, goalie
I'll give that to her. She did it for more games, so I'll give that to her.
Yeah, but I said we're goalie partners, and I think it was. Yeah, I've never really played with like a number one mentality at McGill. I was just happy to be there because we had so much fun as a team, and we were just getting better and better over the years. And like I said, even now she built my new website. Like, she's so generous.
Which is actually a really great website. I was just on that today. So congratulations, yeah. Amy, on that.
Yes. Her husband, he's a website designer, but now she's a teacher, Amy. So now she had a little more time because she was teaching from home. She got to learn how to design websites as well.
Wow.
So yeah, she helped me build my new website, and so great to talk hockey. She's a Leafs fan. I'm a Habs fan, but that's okay.
So tonight is going to be a little bit of struggle for you guys.
Yeah, we'll get to text each other, but no, she's.
Well, it's really special that you were able to forge those relationships, and I know for a lot of the girls that went to college to play hockey, I mean, I never had that opportunity. That's really where a lot of their lifetime friends were forged. This episode brought to you by Armstrong & Small Eye Care Center. Their Eye Care Center's mission is to provide compassionate eye care in Winnipeg, Manitoba, by a dedicated team of professionals using the latest technical and medical equipment. Started by my grandfather, continued by my father, and now run by my brother Luke and his wife Gina. Their optometrists have been telling people what their eyes say about them for over 100 years. That's a lot of eyes and a lot of experience. After McGill, you went on to play for the Montreal team, which I think when you first started, were they called the Action?
Yes, because I played for the Quebec Avalanche, which was
right. I remember the Avalanche. Yes.
for a year.
Yes.
For the Wing Star, and then we changed.
And then they merged together, right? The Avalanche.
Kind of. Yeah. Avalanche folded, and it became the Montreal Stars. So.
Right. Okay. So then